Representative Tim Sanders, thanks for taking some time to be with us. And 8 years here in the House, and you're stepping down. What's the reason?
Yeah, it's been a tremendous 8 years. Super blessed. Have loved almost every minute of it. For me, it's the right time for my family. My kids have all been born and grown up in this world and kind of in this arena, and they're getting older. They're 8, 6, and 5, and for me and for my family, it's just kind of time to reallocate time to them and really kind of move in that direction. They're playing sports now, and I don't want to miss the hockey games and the Little League games, and there's no way around it if you're doing your job right. There's kind of not really a great way to do both things. So for me, it's a great time to really kind of step away. It's a good time in my family, and then we're gonna work and make some money. So it'll be a different chapter in our lives. So we feel good about walking into that next chapter and feel great about the last 8 years here.
What are you going to miss about serving in the House?
I think the biggest thing is the people. You meet so many fantastic people, smart people, educated people, funny people. This is a really special community of individuals in the legislature. You create bonds that with some individuals that it's almost they're lifelong bonds. I mean, the things you go through in this world, that really, it's very difficult to talk to somebody that doesn't understand politics or get what you go through on a day-to-day basis. So you really create some really strong friendships. And then really just, more or less the aesthetics of it. I mean, to have a desk on the House floor has got to be one of the greatest honors you can have. To be able to have an election certificate and serve your district and represent those constituents. I mean, it's a tremendous honor. So, I mean, I think I'll miss the weight of that in some capacity, but, just super grateful I had the chance to do it in the first place.
And you're Assistant Majority Leader right now, and chair of the Gov Ops and Elections Committee. And can you talk about maybe some of the legislation you're most proud of in those areas?
What's interesting is, I've been given a lot of nicknames like the Pack Mule, and I've carried a ton of legislation and successfully passed a lot of legislation. I don't know if there's any one piece that really sticks out that says, hey, I'm the most proud of this. In fact, I think some of the, just overall, I've really worked hard to reduce some of the systematic regulation and for businesses and small business owners. Really help try to streamline and open up access and integrity at the same time when it comes to elections and election policy. I think I've really tried hard to make sure that there's as little gamesmanship as possible in dealing with election policy. And I hope that that's a tradition that didn't necessarily start with me either, but I hope that continues. There are several large bills I'm working on this session that I have been personal for me, and I hope that we can get them across. I think presidential primary will be a really big one. Hopefully we can see that signed into law this session. Just for fun, because I love it so much, is the Fantasy Sports Act. I hope that becomes law this session as well. And then some telecom reform that we're working on this session, which is really important. Our statutes in telecom have not been updated in over 20 years. When we think about the advances that have happened in the last 20 years in telecom, we're still regulating, a landline and legacy phone systems in an iPhone world. For me, I still feel like there's a lot left to do. And I think at the end of all of this, I think I'm going to be most proud of kind of the package of work versus maybe one specific piece of legislation.
As we sit here, I think there's about 5 weeks to go in session. Can all this get accomplished?
Yeah, absolutely. The great thing about the legislature is really figuring out the timing mechanism that there is to it. And things can happen so fast that you can't stop it. And at times, you're doing anything you can to get something moving. So 5 weeks is a political eternity, albeit obviously now it's easier to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But there's certainly a way to get it all done.
Do you remember the first bill you introduced way back when?
I believe that I do. Now, I remember the first big one that kind of got through the process, which was basically the Toy Bill or the Toy Act. But I don't know if I remember the first one I introduced.
What was the toy? Was that the lead-based?
Yep, yeah, yep, the lead-based toys, which actually was very interesting to me. Got that through the process. I think it ended up in a public safety omnibus bill, but I had more, other legislatures reaching out to me on that bill, say, hey, how did you do this? We like the language. For me, it was very interesting. I think it was a 2-line bill, but it caught a lot of fanfare, and a ton of students would write in and say, hey, I'm writing a paper on this bill, for a school project. It was very interesting how it kind of grabbed some legs. But
District 37B is the one you're stepping away from. What advice do you have to whoever takes over your spot there representing Blaine?
I think the big thing that Blaine residents expect is for their state representative to really work hard and keep their head down. I think Blaine residents are very hardworking. They play equally as hard. Most of them have young families, jobs that require a lot of time, and they don't want government necessarily in their lives more than it has to be. And they want and expect government to work for them at the same time, because a lot of them are paying a lot in taxes. So I think for the next person that serves from 37B is keep your head down, do what you say you're going to do, and work hard. Work hard to show that government can work for them, and at times too stop the things that are going to interrupt their lives. That's just the way they are. They're tremendously hardworking and folks that like to play hard as well and spend a lot of time with their families. So they don't have time, I think, for the bickering that happens here and not a lot of patience for government not to work for them.